Welcome to Texas 10. I'm Melissa.
And I'm strumming Steve.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
You're not. Well, sort of.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Yes.
In a different way. But we are here for another episode of Texas 10 and specifically Texas Troubadours. And we are so excited about today because we have Tony Kamel, who you are going to fall in love with. So Tony, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah.
Right. So Tony, we got connected through, business contacts, your people, if you will. And I'll be frank, I didn't know your music until I started listening to it, and we just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
So tell me, when did you fall in love with music?
Well, first of all, don't feel bad for not knowing my music.
More people should. That's the goal here.
Most people don't.
Okay.
And since I was a kid, I found a guitar in my mom's in a closet in my house, and my mom played when she was younger. It was just an old, kind of crappy classical guitar. It was missing strings, but I had it strung up and just started messing with it when I was around 12 or so.
That seems to be sort of a common age where, was it something that just clicked right away? You said, hey, this is it for me? Or was it just, people do, 12-year-olds do a lot of things, right? So, but did they become your number one like right away, or?
Sort of, and in my grades at school reflected that too. Kind of, yeah. And I still have that guitar, by the way. Like it sits on my couch. I've written tons of songs on it, and it's probably worth $200, but I'll never get rid of it.
Right.
And I think it sounds awesome too.
Yeah.
I think so. I was also interested in sports, and I wanted to be cool and stuff.
That's a common theme with the male musicians. As there was this girl, and
I didn't achieve the coolness factor at all. I really, on paper, I should have been really cool. I was pretty decent at football, and I could play the guitar, but I wasn't one of the cool kids at all.
I have a hard time believing that.
Things got better in high school, but in middle school, it was tough time.
Middle school's hard for everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, did your music education in your schools have anything, or did you have church music, or is there anything that really inspired you before you picked up that guitar?
Not really. Mostly my parents, They weren't musicians, but they had interesting musical taste. They didn't do this on purpose, but they had records laying around and tapes of classic rock, like Ozzy Osbourne, Frank Zappa. My mom really liked. That was when I started to realize like music can be weird and interesting and difficult and like intricate. It was through people like that. And at the same time, as I got into high school, I learned about Texas country singers and folk singers like Townes Van Zandt and things of that nature. And so when I heard people like Robert O'Keefe, sort of fell in love with that side of things too. And when I heard psychedelic rock, I fell in love with that side of things and got into some jam band music too, and sort of worked backwards from there into bluegrass music.
I was going to say, now that is an interesting path to bluegrass. So what then drew you into bluegrass? Was it other musicians or?
It was a couple of things. Houston's not exactly a hotbed for bluegrass picking, but I would hear folk bands or Texas country bands tease bluegrass songs, and I'd hear jam bands do it too. I'd hear Fish, String Cheese Incident, and working backwards, I discovered that the Grateful Dead as well, and Jerry Garcia had a bluegrass band called Olden in the Way with Peter Rowan and Vassar Clements and all these great guys. So I always tended to work backwards and see if I heard a bluegrass song done by the String Cheese Incident or Robert O'Keefe, I'd be like, well, what is that? And I find the original versions of it. And when I got to college here at University of Texas, they have this massive music library. And while I'd study, I'd get on the library's catalog website, and I'd just type in like Ralph Stanley and look up old Newport folk recordings. And I'd write down all the catalog numbers in order, and you just take it to the library and they'd pull all the CDs for you and put them in a box. So I'd come home with like 50 CDs.
Well, you had to do your homework.
Yeah, exactly. And one by one, I'd dump them on my hard drive. So I was pirating
the original
music.
Napster. There, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like bluegrass will have its moments. Like,
Right.
the
Oh,
George
Father-
Clooney movie
yeah.
comes out,
Right.
or Alison Krauss hits a big song or whatnot, and it'll flash,
Mhm.
and then it fades away, I guess, to true aficionados, and then it'll flash again. And so I'm just interested in people that are the true aficionados. Like, what's the connective tissue, if you will, that you think sort of holds all that together? Why is it of particular relevance to you?
For me personally, as a musician, what drew me to it was it's just hard to play.
Mm-hmm.
And the melodies are really infectious to me.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a reputation as being sort of hokey and redneck, and it kind of is
Right.
in a lot of ways. But these guys, the people who play this music are some of the best musicians in the world, and that's the truth.
Right.
Truly. I mean, the people you hear playing on all those classic 90s country records and even a lot of current country records, they came up in bluegrass music.
Right.
These are some of the finest and most educated musicians in the world. And I was drawn to the difficulty of it and the jamming aspect.
Mm-hmm.
There's a formula to bluegrass music, and there's a tradition of sitting in a circle and playing these old songs together. Even if you don't know the songs, you could teach someone with a few numbers and words and codes, and then everyone knows it all of a sudden.
Right.
And that's how people used to entertain themselves when they didn't have, TVs and all that stuff. Those things just made me really interested in it. And then I went to my first bluegrass style festival where people camped out and jammed all night, then went to go see shows the next day. And I was hooked.
Yeah.
Where was that?
It was at the Old Settlers Music Festival here, at the time in Driftwood, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not officially a bluegrass festival, but it had
Right.
a bluegrass element to it.
Well, and I think so much of country music, I mean, you said it, it's the root, it's where it grew from. You read about June Carter, or you listen to the Carters and their songs, and it's the bluegrass, and it also goes into the gospel, and they're all connected. And somehow we all find ourselves back in the bluegrass, the Tennessee, and there you are, you
Sure.
have your music. I will tell you, one of my favorite memories as a kid is my sister had some friends, and they came over one night, and they they sat in our living room and played bluegrass for I don't know how long. And you feel part of a community, and they invite everyone. If you can't play an instrument, you start singing, and it is unlike anything else. So I love that.
All right, so you're in love with that. It's challenging, but exciting. Okay, but it seems like the I'm gonna be a rock star aspect of it isn't as likely. Right? So how am I gonna make my way doing this? I mean, was that a struggle for you, or was it something your parents said? Hey, are you gonna be able to support yourself, or how does that work?
I never intended to be a rock star,
Okay.
and I never became one either. So,
It's not too late.
right. It was an accident. I graduated and I got a job selling medical supplies, and
Oh, I
started-
don't see you doing that.
yeah. I didn't either. I did that for 8 years, and then I started getting into, during that time I was more of I just was more of a bluegrass listener. I didn't actually start trying to play the bluegrass style guitar that I play, the flat picking style of it, until I was almost 30. I was like 28. And at that time I met some people that played that style of music in Austin and were jamming. And long story short, I met the guys that would form the band that we started called Wood and Wire. And those guys were way better than me and way more educated. So I had to practice. And they were all full-time. They had been full-time musicians since, they were in their teenage years, So I was extremely inexperienced. I barely even stepped on a stage when Wood and Wire formed, hardly at all.
Wow.
And so I just was having a good time, but I was also taking it seriously. And we kind of accidentally got a little popular, and we started getting asked to play festivals out of state. And I had to decide, am I going to stay on this career path selling medical supplies, or at least try to play music? And was young enough to give it a shot. And it'll be 13 years ago this December will be what my last day of work was.
Wow. So let me ask you this. Were you did you take lessons, or did you really train yourself, and then as you got into these musical communities, learn from other musicians?
I took a few guitar lessons from a guy named Eddie Collins, who still teaches here in town. Really nice dude. To get an idea, to learn some etiquette around jamming, and to learn a couple of fiddle tunes on the guitar, and to get a feel for what it was like to play bluegrass music with other people and not look like an idiot.
Right.
So I did.
Job number one.
Yeah, and I still looked like an idiot when I started, but at the time there was a Sunday jam at a place called Art's Rib House on South Lamar, and every Sunday all these nice people would get together and just pick bluegrass tunes all throughout this barbecue restaurant. There'd be 3 or 4 different bluegrass circles, and it'd be everything from just hobbyist players to some very celebrated local musicians playing together.
I want to move to Austin.
Well,
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what happened?
Well, Art's shut down, and now they've tore it down and built something else, and it's been a while. But there is still, the Central Texas Bluegrass Association is still here, and there are a few jams. I'm out of the loop these days. I moved to Dripping Springs, just out of town, and I got kids. I have a kid and another kid on the way now, so I don't get out as much. But it's still there and thriving in a lot of ways. And there's a Monday night bluegrass performance at Radio Coffee and Beer, where they throw together a hodgepodge group of 4 or 5 people to perform for 3 hours. That's been going on for 13 years as well.
Right.
So there's still really good aspects
It's
of it.
interesting to me. You're not the first person who has said that we've met. We met, I don't know if you know Katie and Sophia of Tiger Lily.
I do.
They're great.
They're great.
And so Katie's like, well, I was in New York City, and I I was classically trained violinist, and I got into bluegrass. I'm like, in New York? You're coming from Houston. And we, like I said, you picture everyone coming from
Appalachia,
North of
right.
Carolina, not from these cities. So I think that's interesting. You're not the first person with that story.
So I want to go back to Wood and Wire. So they're professionals, if you will, and you're stepping into that world, and it's in your late 20s. It seems like that's a little bit harder just psychologically. Like when you're 13, you don't know what you don't know, and so you get on stage and do it, and you build over time. Were you scared when you? I mean, that seems tough to me.
Yeah, I had really bad performance anxiety back then. But I was stupid enough to play through it, I guess, and confident enough, even though I shouldn't have been. But the one thing I did have that I knew I could do, even though I wasn't a great player at the time, was I could sing. I knew I could sing. I could sing well enough to play with some of these better players, and they, because I could sing, and they were willing to teach me, frankly, through examples, and in some cases some maybe harsh come to Jesus moments, which I appreciate now.
Right.
I really do. And so it was a great experience. But yeah, there were times at the beginning where I would be just very, very nervous, drinking too much before trying to relax.
And I don't know how that helps, but I mean, it does help relax you. But I've always been fascinated by the people that can play well,
under the influence
under
of
the
whatever.
influence.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of remarkable.
And so it was a whole different deal now. Now I don't, do. I certainly don't. I don't know. I don't want to get into anything bad. I don't know how. What this podcast like, but I haven't smoked pot in many years.
Okay, well that's not bad.
Yeah, okay, but then I would be like, I'm going to smoke weed, I'm going to have a couple drinks, and it would just make it worse.
Right.
Especially the pot.
Right.
Yeah.
I discovered not long after that it just doesn't work with me anymore, and it's not fun anymore. Now, now I'm an older and more experienced person now. I might have a drink or so before a show, but I don't, for longevity purposes, like I can't be drinking every night,
Right.
it just doesn't work.
So you start on the guitar, and then you crossed over to the banjo. Tell us about that. And you are a very specific style of banjo player. So tell us about that.
It was probably it's in the mid 20 teens. Dominic Fisher, the bass player in Wood and Wire, and I went to Nashville to work on a record for some friends of ours, a band by the name of the Howland Brothers. They're great. They were making their second record, I think it was. and the guy producing it, his name is Brendan Benson. He's in the Raconteurs, and so he's sort of a hero too. And during that session, there were a few different old-time banjos around, and Ian Kraft and Jared with the Howland brothers, they showed me how to clawhammer. Now, Trevor and Win Wire played three-finger Scruggs style banjo, which is sort of the what people I think of when they think of the banjo, and he's one of the best around. But I was really fascinated in this old-time, more mellow, meditative style of banjo playing, and they taught me then. And then a few months later, I bought this banjo I have here.
All right, let's see the banjo here, right?
So this is an old-time banjo, and the way you know it's an old-time banjo is there's no resonator on the back. So on a lot of banjos, you see this whole other piece here, and it weighs about as much as this thing weighs as a whole. And they just sound a little more mellow without that resonator. And the clawhammer, you don't wear picks, and you do this specific motion with your hand to play it.
Can't wait to watch you in a minute.
Right.
So now, and you're also a songwriter.
Right.
So tell us about how you crossed into songwriting.
Songwriting was the first thing, really. Wow. Like, I started writing songs in middle school and high school. And so before everything else I do, I'm a songwriter, really.
So melody or words first?
Melody almost always, for me personally.
It just pop into your head, or you work to say, I mean, how do you start with a melody? Because I don't know anything about music, but is it just a couple of notes, or is it a block comes to you, or how does that work?
It comes at random times, and I just record them into my phone. I'm not a traditional like daily songwriter like some of the Nashville guys, and I don't harp on that style of songwriting.
They're machines.
Yeah, but it's just never suited me, and I've just recently been like, that's okay. You know, sometimes I've read some songwriting books, and most of them are like, you got to try to put pen to paper every day. I don't disagree with that. That's not the way I do things. I don't think it's wrong to do it the way I do it, which is sometimes I sit down and try to come up with something. Sometimes I take long breaks. Sometimes I just wait until something comes.
Well, so it seems to me like if you buy into the, okay, I'm going to do this every day, that you could trap yourself into something that you really don't feel, like, just because I have to accomplish it. I have to accomplish it. But the other side of me says, Steve, you're being a procrastinist, and I'll never get it done if I don't do it. So that sounds like a real hard to balance.
Music
really.
is so emotional,
right?
And so I have to admit, I think the way you songwrite is the way that that's when you get a song from the heart. Versus, I'm sure you have lots of ideas.
Sure.
But.
No, I agree with you. I don't think it's wrong to be more of a just let's write a song, sit in an office and write a song with a couple other people. I think that's okay too. I don't think it's bad to not be fully connected, I guess. And maybe they are, and I'm just don't have experience in that world, so I can't really speak to it.
Yeah.
And I have never gone to some songwriting farm type of office and sat down with people who've done it every day for 20 years. So I don't know if it's like something I would really enjoy.
Yeah.
So I don't talk bad about it.
Well, there's no right or wrong way. I don't think we've talked to enough songwriters already that every one of you approaches it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Let me ask this: when you began focusing on the banjo, or you picked it, did that have an impact on your songwriting?
Definitely.
So how does that work?
Well, the banjo's tuned differently, and in banjo specifically, you retune it to different tunings that sort of express different melodic emotions. So you can find different melodies that way. Guitar is, it kind of is what it is. There's certainly alternate tunings to a guitar, and people utilize that. But in banjo, I just found it's more fun to find different weird melodies on.
Do you hear the melody in your head, like in the tone and the timbre of the banjo versus guitar?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. If I'm feeling inspired by some sort of old time thing I saw, then I definitely be like, I need to get home and get the banjo out.
So you just released a new album in April. We're All Gonna Live.
Yes.
And I was telling Tony before we started, it's not often that I sit down and listen to a whole album and really focus on the words. As Steve knows, I never know the words. I've done it twice this
Wow.
year. One was to Beyonce's album, and Cowboy Carter. It is a piece. It's art.
Sure.
I mean, it has a story. It has an arc to the whole album. Very interesting. And I sat down and listened to yours, and I couldn't stop. So
Thank you.
it really had. I'm gonna cry. I mean,
She loved it. She obviously loved it.
It just touched me in many ways. So tell us how this album, how you put this group of songs together.
It was over probably 3 years before that. And I was experiencing a lot of changes. I was raising my daughter. I spent a lot of time at home, being a stay-at-home dad, which I loved, and bonding with her.
How old is she?
She's 4.5 now.
Okay.
Fun.
And we have another one coming in February. And I was just changing. Everything was changing. And at the end of my first record, and both of these records I did with Bruce Robison producing, and we did it at his analog studio, and they were all just people standing in a circle playing the songs. These are not highly produced records. These are live performances in a studio. The end of my first record, there's a song called Change, which I wrote after my dad passed away. But I also knew it was sort of representing a change in me too, because we finished that first record just a month and a half before my daughter was born. So then the years after that were me. I was changing completely. And
they will do it to you.
Yes. Yeah, and this is a little cheesy, but I was just sort of finding these difficult things in life, that some of them big, some of them small, that everyone experiences, I think, and wanted to put positive spins on them. Mm-hmm. And as I was writing songs for it, that sort of came out, and I was dealing with my own mortality as well. I noticed that a lot of the songs I was writing, I used the lyric, "We're all gonna die," which is, I hope I used it in a positive way.
You did.
And thank you. And eventually I saw that theme happening, but I managed to sort of express positivity, and I wanted to tie it up in a bow with the term "we're all gonna live" instead. So I knew I had to write that song, and I knew that was going to be the premise. It's a rare thing where I'm like, I want to write that song, Mm-hmm. And eventually that song came out, and I recalled a experience I had with a homeless dude a few years before that sort of led to it. But I just wanted it to be an album you could listen to top to bottom, that sends you on a little journey. That's not too long, not too short, but gets tied up in a little bow at the end. And I feel like nowadays, the way things are, people release singles only, and that's fine. I don't care. I want people to like my music. I want to play for more people, but I'm going to do it my own way. And I will release a single here and there, but I still want to make records that are meant to be listened to top to bottom.
So that is such a thing that all appreciators of music are nodding their head, like, and especially the ones we grew, like Hotel California, right? That's a whole story, right? And that's what we're raised on, and we all miss it.
Right.
Yet the business model doesn't really reward it, and I can't figure out why or how that happened, but it is sad. I just
well, it's a whole different world we live in. With people want stuff really quickly. They want it now. You're supposed to put stuff out all the time, and I don't disagree with that. I like making stuff, so I want to put stuff out, and I'm going to put out some live recordings, and I put out some covers in the middle of last year, but I still, amidst all that stuff, and I'll play the game a little bit, but I still want to make records that are meant to be listened to top to bottom.
So is it available on vinyl?
Yes.
All right.
Well,
where would you go to get it?
You can go to my website, TonyKamelmusic.com, and it's spelled with a K, Kamel. So I have to, explain that. Otherwise, you're going to look up Campbell's Soup.
Right.
Tony Kamel is a really good jazz saxophone player, but he's not me. And but yes, it's on vinyl and it sounds really cool. And we recorded it all analog, no computers at all.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because the other thing that I felt, I think what drew me in is I felt like I could close my eyes and I felt like I was sitting in your living room, because at the end of all the songs, y'all make comments, you're like, yeah, that was it. Or you just felt like you were there. And so it's the first album I've listened to in a long time where it truly almost was an out-of-body experience.
Wow.
And I really did. I closed my eyes and I could relate to every song. I was like, yes, your small town song.
Sure.
Like,
so that song was written by a guy named Danny Barnes. That's one of the only,
great.
yeah. And he's a sort of banjo mentor of mine. He was in a band called the Bad Livers that was around here in Austin for a long time. And he's an absolute crazy person in the best way. He's amazing. And
well, we've been to every county in Texas, so we've been to a lot of small towns.
Yeah.
And yes,
right.
You described it beautifully. And what do? You get in your car and you drive around because there's nothing else to do.
I know. It's funny. I've always loved that song. And I rarely sing other people's songs, but that's been one of my favorites. And I just thought it fit.
Yeah.
As far as like when I was trying to make this theme of like difficult situations and positive light, part of it was I didn't want it to be this sort of toxic positivity thing where you're like, oh, everything's fine.
The cheerleader.
Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's, falling apart, but everything's fine. No, part of the deal is you got to sit in the darkness too for a while until you see some light to walk towards. That's what that song is supposed to represent, this sort of desolate, bleak little town that's kind of dark, but you could probably leave at some point if you need to.
Right. So that's I'm a Springsteen fan. He's got the My Hometown song, and it's sort of the same theme. What I'm wondering about it seems like it's a very personal album, but it fits so much into where we are as a society now that it does seem like things are falling apart, whichever side or whatever role you want to play. Everybody thinks everything's falling apart and there's all these disasters. And it's not wrong to say we've got problems and struggles, but I love the idea that that's okay. We can, there's things out there to appreciate. Was that part of your songwriting, or was it really just all personal stuff? Because it fits the time so well, it seems to me.
I'm definitely a personal songwriter, but as things were coming together for it, I'd hoped people would find some sort of energy and fight in it as well. In my personal political beliefs, I'm not happy with stuff that's happening right now at all, personally, and that's me. And I don't put that in my songs directly, but I don't shy away from it in public conversation like this. Everybody is welcome at my shows, no matter what. But I am not happy with things that have been happening, especially lately. And so, what I hope people find in it is you have a life to live and you should fight, and that's what I hope I can give people, some of that feeling,
Well, and it just had, especially at the end, such a sense of hope.
Right.
Because there's all the doomsayers, and your story about giving, in the song, giving the homeless man $10, and he acted so excited, and you watched him walk into the liquor store and so devastated. That happened to me.
Yeah.
I did an experiment with my girls, and they were so disappointed. We were all so disappointed. And then we just looked for the bad. And the story turns, and I loved that. He did something good with that money, and it was, I don't want to give it all away.
You've given it all away.
That's okay. I was going to tell the story anyway.
I hope
is it based on, you referred to that, so tell us.
So the story goes, and this is the last song on the record, and I'll play that one. It's everything you just said. I gave a dude $10 he said, I have a job waiting for me, specifically in McAllen, Texas. And I didn't know what the job was or anything. He's like, I just got to get a bus. I need $2 more. I only had a $10 bill. I gave it to him. He went to the liquor store, which bummed me out. Side note, he should be able to do whatever he wants with that money.
Right.
But he came out with $1 bills. He just had made change and gave it to some other people that he had been camping with, I guess, or with on the streets. And then he left. So everything after that, I'm, conjured up. And, but yes, that part of the story is true.
That is.
And I hope he went down there, and I hope he got going and everything. But who knows?
Great that you look for the hopeful side instead of where we all tend to go. Well, I try not to, but we all are guilty of it, of thinking of the negative. And your entire album just brings hope. In fact, I told my rector today, so I'm going to give you the name of an album, and you need to go listen to it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
I love that.
I'm hoping there's a sermon in it.
But I should say that I went to the negative too in that moment. I was bummed when he went to the liquor store, and I expressed that in the lyrics. And so I learned a lot about myself too when I was essentially proven wrong in that moment. And I had always intended to write something. I tried a few things around that story, and until the term popped into my head, "We're all going to live," I couldn't quite find it.
Right. That's so. How long does it take once the term pops into your head? I mean, does it?
It was months before I even came up. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I was going to do it, but I finished that song. That was the last song I finished. It wasn't long at all before we recorded it either. And there's a few things that happened that way. There's an instrumental on the record we did that we didn't intend to use. We only started playing because there was a photographer that day. And we were done tracking essentially everything. But we had kind of come up with this funky version of this old Bill Monroe instrumental, and the photographer wanted us to be playing while he was taking pictures. So we played that, and that's what is on the record.
Okay, now.
And that was a random.
So I'm going to say this, that you made a decision 12, 13 years ago to go one way. And whatever, because medical device or medical supply salesmen, they can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But whatever else happens in life, you don't get music moments like that in your life if you're selling medical supplies all of the time. So you made the right choice as far as I'm concerned.
So tell us about your album cover. Speaking of photographers, I have to admit, when I pulled up the album, I'm looking at that, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
The second song on the record, is it the second one? I think it is called Damn Good Ride. And I wrote it for my grandmother, who I was very close with. And she passed away, and me being the degenerate musician with nothing to do, I was sort of tasked with going through some of her things after the estates, or deciding what we were going to sell, and packing up this house that I kind of grew up in. And so part of that, the chorus at least, some of the chorus came while I was doing that. And she said something to me during my family went through a very difficult time where my dad had a stroke and then passed away a year and a half later. And then not long after the stroke, where there was some other stuff that piled on. And she told me in a moment where I was just at her house hanging out that she said, eventually life starts to knock you around. You got to be ready to fight with a smile. And she was directing that towards me and my siblings. And because we were getting older, we were all getting married and starting to, get into our more complicated adulthood. And she knew she wasn't going to be around forever. And she said, you got to be ready to fight with a smile. That quote is printed on the back of the vinyl. And that is why I'm beat up with a stupid grin on my face on the cover. So that's
what a great story.
Yeah, she was awesome. Yes. And we had her for a long time. And my dad's death was just an awful thing we all went through. His sickness and but that helped me. That quote kind of helped us get through it.
Wow.
Well,
he made me cry again.
It's going to be okay, dear. It's going to be okay.
So that song was for her.
Right.
And it's a great song, too.
Thank you.
Yes. And there is something about grandparents. When you get old, you either get wise or mean. I can't figure out, but I love it when they're wise.
We hope we're getting wise.
Right.
We're grandparents now.
My granddad was both. Her husband was both. I loved him, though.
Yes. Were they from Houston, too? Or
they were, yes, basically. They both of my sides. I came from immigrant families on both sides, but my mom's parents are from Sicily and they're from Lebanon, but they came over as very young kids. I think my grandmother was actually born in the States.
You're a bluegrass player.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But they grew up in Tyler, you know.
Oh yeah.
So they were East Texas Lebanese rednecks, and I promise you they exist, and they still do.
Yes, my dad was from Chandler, so right outside Tyler.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Well, so are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So let's see if you can actually make this thing work.
So quickly, the clawhammer style, the top of your first finger is what hits the notes, and then your thumb lands on this fifth string, which is like a drone string. You don't ever fret it. You do, and if you're really good, which I'm not, up here, but it's just sort of a drone string. So that's what clawhammer style represents. And this is a weird double C tuning that doesn't usually get used in bluegrass, like three-finger style banjo. So those are some differences nobody listening probably cares about. But anyway, here's We're All Gonna Live. Old hobo on the corner, asking for $2. Said it's all he needs to catch the bus to better luck. I handed him a Hamilton. He smiled through his fangs like he ain't ever seen $10 that wasn't made of change. I watched him scatter over to the liquor store he run. I hung my head in anger. He came out with 10 ones. He handed out them dollar bills, 2 at a time, till he had 2 left to get him down the line. It's a rocky road we're walking on. Yeah, the road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long. In San Benito, Texas, where he left his old life, he wasn't going back until he got himself right. So he quit all of his drinking and all them weary ways. He's headed back down home, San Benito way. And his cousin Renegade Boat said he could take him on, cleaning boats and cleaning fish for tips at dawn. Said, I'm telling you, my cuz, I'll cut off my right hand if any man's cleaned a redfish better than I can. It's a rocky road we're walking on. Yeah, the road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long. Outside the ground station, a man held up a sign, read, repent all ye sinners, we're all gonna die. The old hobo took it from his hands, ripped it with a grin. He said, you got it wrong, my brother, we're all gonna live. We're all gonna live. We're all gonna live. We're all gonna live. We're all gonna live.
Oh, that was amazing.
That is
That
great.
was so great.
And that's what it says right here. I vandalized my banjo for marketing purposes.
I don't think it affects the sound too much. So. Well, so a couple things about that is, one, I'm never going to drive up to a intersection and have somebody looking at me, you know, with the sign or whatnot, and think the things that I've thought before again. And two, every time I order redfish, I'm going to think of that line. Where did that come from?
Well, if you're down there, maybe that's the guy that cut it up for you. Yeah.
That's great. So we want everyone to know about you. So give us all your handles. Where can we
Sure.
find you?
Tony Kamel Music. Again, that's Kamel. on everything: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all that stuff. YouTube. Follow along, and you can look up the website. I don't know if anyone even does that anymore. I don't tour that much. I'd like to do more, but I'm not that in demand. And I'm in demand at my house. So, but I really would like to do more. I'm gonna keep going if I can.
Well,
that's awesome.
It's again, I think it's an album for our times, and that's, you never know when something's going to catch on. So we'll do our part, but I really encourage people to buy the album if you got a player, just to play it on vinyl. I bet it is.
Thank you.
That's the best way to hear it. Is my guess.
I think it sounds great, but as long as you listen to it, I don't care.
And also, we just encourage people to get out and go to live music. Tony may not be out a lot, but there's a lot of other people that are. There's festivals, there's music venues, and musicians need you, and they need you to listen, and your soul will be filled, and you will be better for it.
Right.
So
the other thing I'm going to encourage people to do is to take, for us, it would be grandkids. If you have kids, is you're looking at and listening to a 12-year-old who's grown into his passion, but that only happens if people are exposed to it. And so Melissa, being an educator, can tell you it's tough to get music education in the schools these days, but it's out there for people that are willing to get their kids out there, or their grandkids.
Go see small shows.
yes,
they've taken a huge hit these last couple of years.
Yeah, it is. It's got to be tough to see Beyonce or Taylor Swift. I mean, they just dominate the market.
Sure.
And if you spend whatever it costs to go to a Taylor Swift show, you probably don't have a lot of money left to go to small shows.
Well,
but
we've said this before, but I find the most joy in an intimate, small setting. Even house concerts. A friend of ours, Randy Palmer, we love to go to his house concerts. And I said to Steve on the way down, we live in a loft. I'm like, is our loft big enough to have a house concert?
Every loft's big enough. You only have 10 people. I do tons of house concerts. It's one of my favorite ways to perform. It really is.
Well, I want you to come to my house.
Okay.
I'll do it for you.
And you can bring the kids.
Right.
That'll be great. I know I'm not going to ruin it, though. No, I will. My daughter gets plenty of exposure to live music.
I bet. Yeah, I'm guessing that's the case. So.
Well, we want to encourage you to continue listening. We want to encourage you to get on the road, go to shows, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, our website, texas10.com, and enjoy the culture and the music that's around you right here in Texas in your own backyard.
All right. Tony, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
And everybody, do the social media things for us and Tony, and go out and get yourself a copy of We're All Gonna Live, because you're going to. So,
Great.
Thanks.
And I love this land. It takes my breath away. From the Palo Duro to the Gulf Coast plain, from the heart of the hill country to the piney wood shade, I love this land. It takes my breath away.